What's up, YouTube? It's Dylan Bartlett here, and I watched a very interesting video on YouTube about how to fix the current game of Yu-Gi-Oh. I was watching, I believe his YouTube name is Striker T98, I think. I can't remember, but I didn't get to watch all of his video, but he was making some good points in the beginning about banning cards that are just stupid. The game of Yu-Gi-Oh is really luck-based, and we have stupid cards that pretty much can turn a game around, like Blackluster Soldier. I mean, that card can single-handedly turn a game around. Heavy Storm can certainly turn a game around. Dark Hole can certainly turn a game around. Stuff like that. So if you were to make the format slower, it would be more of a skill-based format. If you've seen from 2004 to 2007, it was a very slow format with just regular chaos. You would 1-for-1 your opponent. You goat control, rat box, perfect circle. It was all 1-for-1 cards that you had to play around your opponent. If you spun their monster, with Ryza, you have to fear the sack armor. But if you spin their back row, then you're gonna have to deal with it in the future. And I mean, it's just the game was so simple back then, and it took skill to play the game. I mean, it was a chess match. Now the first person that can pretty much just clear your field and drop a whole lot of monsters wins. And almost any deck can do that. So, if we were to, say, make the game better, you would have to ban Blackluster Soldier. I think you'd have to ban Dark Hole. I think Heavy Storm should still be in the game, because I think it's not necessarily a skillful card to play, but for you, the opponent, it takes skill to kind of manipulate the back rows, because to me, it takes no skill to set 5 backers and summon a monster. It doesn't take skill to do that. Summon a Thunder King and setting 5 back rows and saying go ahead, and then they summon a monster, you go bottomless. They summon another monster, you go deep prison. You summon another monster, you go warning. It doesn't take skill. It's really boring. So, Heavy Storm should still be there. I don't think MSC should be at 3. It should be at 1 or 2, personally. But you have cards like Maxi and Effect Veiler too that make the game a more balanced, more skilled game. But here's what the real problem is, why the game isn't as good as it was back in the day until 2000, I believe, 9. And it's simply because Konami took over the game. Think about it. Konami is the problem that it's the main problem. That they made the game terrible. If you notice, UDE was the original owner from whenever the card game came out till 2010. And the formats were really slow up until Gladiator Beast format. You had 2 decks that were fast. You had Dark Arm Return, and you had Gladiator Beasts. Dark Arm Return wasn't necessarily that great of a deck. Gladiator Beast destroyed it. And Gladiator Beast wasn't a fast deck, but it was a very controlled, very aggro deck that, made a Heraclinos and you couldn't get over it. There weren't many cards that could get over Heraclinos. So you played either Gladiator Beast or you played Dark Arm. Now, Dark Arm could get over Heraclinos because they could just drop a Dark Arm Dragon and blow it up. But the game was very skillful. You had 3 Solemns. You had stuff to kind of prevent the Dark Arm deck beating Gladiator Beasts. UDE, they had formats, had Perfect Circle format, they had Gadget format, Chaos format, let's see, they had Goat Control, Rat Box, Warrior Toolbox. They had very slow decks, and it wasn't, back then if you top decked a card, it wasn't necessarily, a big deal. Back then if you top decked a Raigeki, you're only going to probably destroy 1 monster your opponent controlled. Unlike today, where Dark Hole literally gets rid of 2 or 3 monsters. And then when Teledad came out, it was a very fast deck. So a lot of you guys are probably like, well, UD had very fast decks too. Why aren't they the problem also? Well, the main problem is that UDE, when they made cards and they controlled the ban list and they controlled, everything that kind of happened, uh, UDE only had one fast deck at a time. So if you played the fast deck, everyone played the fast deck. In Teledad format, you either played Teledad or you didn't play at all. So why does that make it more of a skilled game, more of a better game? It makes it a lot more better because everyone's playing the exact same deck. So the one who was the more skillful player ended up winning. If you notice, they only did a top 16. So when you topped at a Shonen Jump, it was worth it. You didn't get there by luck. You got there by skill. Because there was about 10 rounds every Shonen Jump. And the same players were topping. If you looked on the top 16, the same players were topping. You had all the same pros topping. It was just, the game was very skill based. Now, granted, you did have cards you could top deck, luckily, and win the game, but it rarely happened. Unlike today, where you can top deck Heavy Storm. I mean, almost all cards in people's decks now can be top decked and win a game. Wind-Ups they top deck a Rat. Chaos Dragons they top deck Future Fusion. Rabbit they top deck the Rabbit. I mean, there's so many cards that in everyone's deck that can be top decked now to win. And Teledad, the deck stuttering. The deck, it was it's not like all these other decks that one card explode. I mean, it took turns and turns and certain combos to get everything needed to kill your opponent. You needed to get the Stratos or the Rhoda to get the Malicious, to de-draw off the Malicious, and you had to draw into your deck. Now it's like, Wind-Ups are Storm, Rat, Shark, the Mighty, Hand Loop, game. Chaos Dragons like Future Fusion, game. Rabbits like Rabbit, 4 backers. I mean, the game doesn't take a skill anymore, and there's too many top tier decks. That's the problem. Because when you have a format of top tier decks, it doesn't take any skill because the whole deck has very broken, powerful cards that can turn any game around. I mean, it's just dumb, and because a single deck can't counter everyone's deck. That's why in Teledad format, almost everyone's Teledad deck was 3 to 5 card difference because they would play Tech against the mirror match, or they had their certain build that could outdo the other builds, so to say. Now you try to play some Tech, it's like, okay, this was good against the Dragon matchup, but I'm kind of losing against the Rabbit matchup. People were min-decking Soul Takers last Nationals for the Dragon matchup. But you play against Rabbit, it's like, it's kind of okay, but it's not devastating. So, and again, if you look at the, when Konami took over, what happened in that format? We had Lightsworn as the Tier 1 deck, Black Wings as a Tier 1 deck, and then Rescue Cat as a Tier 1 deck. There's 3 top Tier 1 decks, and they both were broken. Rescue Rabbit would go, you flip a spy, get another spy, Rescue Rabbit, make 2 Darkstrike Fighters, attack for both, and then shoot both of them off for game. Black Wings were like Shura, Bor, Gil, make Darkstrike, shoot it off for game. Light Sword was like, oh, drop JD, game. I mean, the game was just so unbalanced that, and a lot of people, I think Konami, I mean, they had the right idea, like, okay, if we can make 5 top tier decks, then it gives a bunch of diversity of the game, and it should be more skillful. But when you make everyone's deck kind of, in theory, the same, they have the same broken outs as the other decks, it's not skill, Dragon, like, let's say, Rabbit versus, Dark Worlds, Rabbit, they have their same top decks, their same broken plays, and so does Dark World, It's not like Teledad where, if they top deck the card, that doesn't mean your opponent has an answer for it, because Teledad, you always play the mirror match, so you'd mostly have answers for what they were going to play. But Dark World, if you go in a tournament playing Dark World, you're going to play Rabbits, you're going to play Wind-Ups, you're going to play dragons. I mean, and there's not enough room in the extra deck to compensate for all these for all these games. No, like every deck that's in the format currently doesn't take. It's not combo oriented. And I think that's a really big piece of why the game kind of fell, because now it's one card makes thousands of plays. That's how much. That's really what it is. Think about it. Dark World. It's like, okay, Dark World dealings, draw one, discard a Brow, draw two. Look here at gates. That one card got me the gate that made the whole deck run. Same thing with windups. Oh, the rat. The rat got made the hand loop. Rabbit. The rabbit made the Dolka, so I can set 4 back rows. It's one card outs, one card plays that make thousands of plays. Tour Guide for Sangan, make Levier, get Rabbit, shoot off Rabbit. I mean, they're one card plays. And none of the decks have dead cards. Teledad, even though it was a very consistent deck and a very powerful deck, since it was combo oriented, it had drawbacks. You could open up multiple militias. You could open up a couple D draws that you couldn't play that turn because you couldn't. You open up multiple dark arms that you just couldn't play. There's a bunch of cards that you could open up that would be very slow and cause you to lose the game. This in the current meta, I mean, there's no opening slow. It's just a bunch of one card outs, unlike Teledad, where it was like, okay, I have to D-draw malicious, have to lure, have to do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. Okay, maybe I have my setup to kill you now, and if I don't, then I lose the game. That was another thing about the earlier formats when UDE controlled it. Since everybody was playing the Teledad deck, since it's the only fast deck available, if you didn't calculate everything right and you couldn't kill your opponent that turn and you went off, your opponent could do the same thing. If you drop 3 dark arms and for some reason you misplayed and you couldn't kill him, your opponent would drop 1 dark arm, get rid of all your dark arms, and force you to lose the game. So I really do think it's just a matter of Konami. They kind of were like, well, let's make the decks not combo oriented so that everybody can kind of pick up a deck and play. So yeah. So that's all I got for right now. I think I'm going to do 3 more videos because there's 2 other topics I have to talk about. Why it's not great right now. And it's already about 13-minute long video. One more thing though. If you notice too, back then if it was combo oriented, it was a more draw power oriented. So you had to draw into your pieces and play them right. Unlike now, there's hardly any draw power in the game. It's just 1 card fetches 1 card fetches 1 card. You're dead. So back, and it took skill because when Teledad was out, if you didn't draw the right cards, you had to manipulate them and play around them and all that good stuff. I mean, Tour Guide gets Sangan, makes Levier, gets Rabbit, shoots Rabbit off to save resources, makes Levier, sets some back rows. I mean, it's just bland, boring, and takes no skill. Chaos Dragons. Well, I guess I'll move my Eclipse Waverin and my other guy for Light Pulsar. I guess I'll fetch Rise Metal. I guess I'll, move these guys for Chaos Sorcerer too. I guess I'll move your guy. I guess I'll treat both off for Rise Metal. I guess I'll bring back a Light Pulsar. I mean, it doesn't take any skill. It's 1 card outs, 1 card plays. It's not, like, no deck plays 7 to 8 cards a turn to get what they need. And even cards that do that, like Bubble Beat, it's not even skillful because it's like, okay, set 5 spells, special Bubble Man, flip up E-Call, get Stratos searches, get Bubble Man, make Shockmaster, flip up 2 more spells to do whatever, and have 2 trap set. It's not like, there's still 1 card outs, it's just multiple 1 card outs. So, I guess next video I'll talk about Exceeds and Synchros, how they ruin the game even more. But I don't think they're necessarily the big reason they hurt the game. Like, they didn't hurt necessarily are the reason the game's so fast. Because, I mean, you can make a format very slow to where, you'd summon a guy, summon another guy, and Exceed. But, thank you guys for watching, And hope you guys enjoy this. I like talking about the older days and the older cards and formats and stuff. So please give it a like and a thumbs up. Thanks.